Okay, everybody, good morning. Sorry about the confusion. I sent the wrong link yesterday. What a mess.
Yeah, really, Monica, don't worry about it, because if anyone's on here that didn't hear that earlier, we had a board meeting yesterday evening and I kind of messed up on that link. So I knew having 2 meetings back to back wasn't a good idea. And that happens to us twice a year. The second Wednesday falls back to back with the third Thursday. So I don't like it. I don't like going from one meeting to the next with the same group of people. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about a couple little things here really quick, and then introduce Joe. We've got a pretty small group on. That's probably partly because we had messed up on the links, but one of the things I want to remind everybody about, and let's see who's on here, because I know, yeah, Zena's on here, Irene's on here, Leanna's on here. So, and we are doing our May Day basket contest again. I just want to plug that really quick, because it's coming up quickly, and it's primarily just really for downtown, for brick and mortar stores that are downtown in that several block area. And we did it 2 years ago. We had 25 May Day baskets, and it was fun. It was successful and people enjoyed it. And we're doing it again this year. We didn't do it last year. And there's details on the website. I sent them in the newsletter. Susan was around town this week passing out brochures. All we ask you to do is have your May Day basket and or display up by noon, April 30th, and then they'll be judged that day and awards announced on May 1st, and you keep them up till May 5th. The only other requirement is they must have some fresh flowers in them, or live plants. They can't be all artificial, and they need to be displayed on your door or outside in your doorway, right outside your shop. And I know that means bringing them in at night, but some people did and some people didn't. So that's the May Day basket in a nutshell. And there's no fee to join. It's just whatever you decide to put into it. And for those of you who don't know this, this was something I saw in Annapolis, Maryland, a million years ago in the early 90s. And I don't know that, I know they were still doing it 2 years ago. They've been doing it for like 60 years. So it's just a nice little project. So I know Zena's on there. I was really hoping Zena would do one because I think she would do a really interesting one. So encourage your neighbors next door to you to do a May Day basket. The other thing I wanted to, anybody got questions about that at all?
What was that date?
Is April 30th. It's a Friday. You should have it on display by April 30th. So there's pictures online and in the newsletter, you'll get an idea of what people have done in the past, because not everybody did a basket. They'd use bicycles and high heels and gumball machines and all kinds of things, mannequins and wagons. And the other thing I wanted to mention really quickly is that we're going to do our 3rd round of downtown dollars. We started that in the holidays. It's a little bit of an awkward, difficult thing to do, but we've decided to give it another shot. I think it's really beneficial to some businesses. So participating businesses will be handing out a downtown dollar starting April 23rd, which is a Friday, until May 9th, which is Mother's Day. And I'm not going to go into details here because we'll talk to individual merchants, but we're going to change it up just a little bit so that the stores and restaurants don't have to hand out so many cards. We're going to ask the businesses to fill in the amount on the card and hand it to the customer. And then we'll make sure the customer gets chances that equal the amount of money they spent, if that makes any sense. So, because if you're spending $100, you don't want 10 cards and clerks don't want to hand out 10 cards and people don't want to fill out 10 cards. But I think the way we're going to do it might work. So we'll see. And the winner of Downtown Dollars gets $125 cash. And thank you to Kitsap Bank and Ken Hall for making that happen. We've had cash prizes 2 other times. So we'll see how that goes, and then we'll do it again for the holidays next fall. I'm not going to go into a lot of the other events, but there are some things that may take place this summer, some things that almost for sure won't, and a lot of those are kind of in flux still. We're hoping to have night markets. We have a piece of private property we've requested to use. I'm not sure if that's going to happen. At the end, maybe Sharon King might want to say something about what Fathoms is trying to do, but I'll save that till the end. We are going to have ladies weekend out. We're going to model it exactly how we did it last fall. So it won't be a concentrated event. It'll be just a weekend thing where we won't have a lot of gathering. The last thing I want to mention, and we've had a very successful response to our adopted planters, our Bay Street sidewalk planters. They're all adopted out. People are starting to plant them. This saves POBSA a lot of money. It is a lot of work to water those planters all year long. And I'd like to ask anyone that knows anyone, I'd like to put a watering team together to help water those. The people who adopt the planters are responsible, but it really helps to have some people helping to water. We may need some help watering the hanging baskets as well. We had a great response from members for sponsoring hanging baskets. We don't have any LTAC event money, and we're short on money, so we weren't sure if we were going to be able to do hanging baskets, but they're in play. They'll be going up right after Mother's Day. So just thank you to everyone who participated in that, is going to participate in that. And if you want to take a week or a month this summer to help supplement watering, please send me an email and let me know. I know these are little things and maybe don't directly relate to the economy, but we know that people really like downtown Port Orchard in the summer with all the flowers, as well as in the winter with all the Christmas trees. So it's one little thing that we can do. So any questions or comments about any of that?
I have a question.
Yeah.
And maybe it's not really off topic, but do we have anything that we can hand people? I have had so many people show up that just moved here. We have such a huge amount of people just moved here. Is there anything that I can give them that's like a downtown flyer?
Yeah,
you know,
Leanna, funny you should mention that, because we had a discussion about that last night at our board meeting. We've had a walking map several times in the past, but because of COVID, we didn't redo it last year, and it's quite outdated. And it is our intention to print another one, hopefully in the next 6 weeks. We do
Great.
need advertisers for it. If you're a member, you'll go on the map as a listing. It's a nice walking map. So, but we do need a supplemental ad dollars to make it happen. So the membership will be hearing from Chris and I any moment, any day, right, Chris? And the ads are like $75, and that helps us pay for it, and then we'll pass them out. And they'll probably go in the voter bags too. So yeah, but nothing we have is very current right now. So any other questions? Okay, well, I'm gonna let Joe mostly introduce himself. Joe went into his new position, I think in September or October. You can correct me, Joe, but he's formerly from Anchorage and worked with what's called the Angel Fund up there, and I'll let him tell you about that. So he's got a strong background in economic development, and he has lived in Port Orchard for 3 years. He's a downtown resident. So he's very likely been in your shop, or will be, right, Joe? So, or your restaurant. And he became the executive director of the Kitsap Economic Development Alliance this last fall. And all of us in Port Orchard, who know him and are involved in the leadership of the community, we're very thrilled to have Joe get that position. So I think it's a big bonus to have Joe in that position. So I'm going to let him tell a little more about himself, introduce himself, and he's going to talk about the economic development, the economy of Kitsap County, because we all know it's been up and down and a little bit of a mess for some businesses, and others are doing great. So Joe, go ahead.
Joe, sorry to interrupt. Do you want to be hosts? Do you have slides to show us?
I do have slides, but there's no rush.
Okay,
And
I can just make you the host right now. That's super.
okay, but I'm one of those people who like never met a PowerPoint he didn't like, which is terrible. And Corinne, how long do we want to go for?
Breaking up.
Corinne,
Like,
how long?
I'm sorry, my internet was breaking up for a minute. That's the other thing. I live out in the darn sticks. You know what? We are not doing a lot of business today, Joe. So, and we're not doing a raffle at the end today. So you've got, you've got 20 to 30 minutes. You got 30 minutes if you want it.
awesome. Well, let's do this. If I could humbly ask, by the way, thanks for that nice introduction, Corinne. Appreciate that. Appreciate you. Love the city of Port Orchard. Love Kitsap. Love South Kitsap. Just adore this community. And so it's a real pleasure, honor, and joy to have the job that I have, which is to give back to this community, to bring us all together from Bainbridge to Olalla, and to advocate for mutual self-interest and economic interest. I'd like to really talk to you for about 10 or 15 minutes, and then I'll just briefly talk about what Kita does. And the reason I'd like to do that is to, if you could just spend 30 to 60 seconds talking about what you do, what your business is, and what the last 12 months of business has been like for you. I'd appreciate it. It helps me understand what's going on with you. Lorraine Olson is both an easy pick, part of the reason why I'm here in Port Orchard, and my next door neighbor. So I'll start with her, but then we'll go to the two Christines and then Susan after Lorraine. So, and if you don't want to share, hey, like, look, businesses have had between 25 to 70% lower revenues in a year. Some have been absolutely destroyed. Some businesses have done really well. Generally not small retailers, generally not restaurants, generally not Main Street, but I'd really like to hear your story. So Lorraine, if you have like a minute to talk about it, I'd appreciate it.
Great. Good morning, everybody. So yeah, it's been really hard. It's been a whole different experience. My revenues have gone down by about at least 75% or more.
Lorraine, can you introduce your business?
Oh, sorry. I'm Lorraine with Mrs. Howe's Bed and Breakfast. Joe and Claire actually stayed with me the first time they came to this community. So it's been a really wonderful friendship. For the last year, my revenues have decreased by about 75%. People just aren't traveling, they aren't comfortable, but it's been an opportunity for me to really think about my COVID protocols. I have longer times in between guests, so I can't even accommodate as many guests, even if I wanted to. And then the issue with sharing the bathroom is really a big issue. And so for sustainability, at some point, I'll need to put a bathroom in one of my closets. And I'll figure that out. But it's also been an opportunity, and people who do come here are really appreciative. They love our downtown area, and they appreciate the efforts that everyone's making to be open and to be available for them for shopping or for eating. So thank you.
Great. And if we could go, if you're comfortable, Christine Phelan saying a few words, great. If you want to pass, that's not a problem too. And we'll go to the other Christine.
Oh, when you said Christine, I'm like, who's Christine? And he didn't say my name. My name's Leanna and Christine Phelan. I used to be the executive director for Port of Duato, and Christine Phelan was 92 years old, and she was before me. And for some reason, her name is connected to all of my internet things. So she lives on. But my business is Leanna's Art and Coffee. I'm Leanna. My business, sometimes I feel like I'm in a hole where I get overlooked a lot, but I think that people have noticed me more through the COVID. I stayed strong, but I did have to close for close to 6 months. So my I had nothing coming back and nothing when I started. So I wasn't open very long when it all hit. So it was a heck of a thing trying to recover. And there was a choice I had to make. Either I shut down now and save myself, or I keep going. And I'm a God girl, and I think that there's a reason I'm there. So I think for only reason I'm here on this earth and my business is purely prayer. So, but I'm doing pretty well. And I decided to add a whole bunch of different things that I didn't have before to make me more essential in the beginning. But I saw what people were really looking for. People shared their stories with me. So I have a lot of different things, and it's things that cost more, things that cost less. That's what I added into my shop, was a little bit of everything, and people started coming more. So I do have more foot traffic and more revenue, but I do have to pay my bills, and I have back bills, and my landlord's being patient. Because when I'm not open, but I'm also not eligible for grants. Every grant that I put in for, I got nothing. And I didn't cry it out, although I wanted to, but, and I'm not going to take a loan because that's crazy. I think that's irresponsible of me to take a loan, and because I don't have employees. So I have to pay it back. And I think moving forward, I'm just going to keep pushing, and maybe I live with nothing coming out of it, but I can keep myself afloat. So we'll see where I go from there. You're muted.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Leanna. Appreciate hearing that. Christine Stansbury, do you want to share? And if you don't have time or you don't want to share, it's fine. It's been a tough year.
Yeah, it has been. Christine Stansbury, I am one of the board members and the executive director at the Sydney Museum and Arts Association. So we have the Sydney Gallery right up the hill and the Log Cabin Museum a couple blocks up from there on Sydney. We've been closed since March of last year. We are a 100% volunteer organization, and all of my volunteers most of my volunteers with very few exceptions are in that high risk range. So it didn't seem worthwhile to put anybody at risk. And as a museum, we were closed. We couldn't open for most of that anyway. The art gallery could have potentially been open as part of the retail space, but we just made the decision as a board not to put anybody. So we've been open by appointment now for a couple months, and not very much foot traffic. I mean, not very many people calling to make an appointment, but we still are hanging the shows, and we started an online store at Christmas time to help support the artists and get them out there, and we're moving towards potentially in May, maybe opening 2 days a week to start with, and run shifts for some of the volunteers. The thing I've noticed, because I'm there a lot when I first started going back, is that it's exhausting when you haven't been outside, you haven't been out of your house, and then you're back to going where you have to interact with other people, which you've forgotten how to do. But you're interacting with other people, and it's exhausting. So I would have the artists bring art in, and then I would go home and wash off all the artist cooties and go to bed because I was so tired. And that's a concern for me with bringing the volunteers back, is that a lot of them can maybe do 2 hours or 3 hours, but I think asking them to do 6 hours in one fell swoop is going to be difficult. So anyway, that's where we are. We are lucky enough to have the resources. We own the buildings. We have no employees. So we're lucky enough to have the resources to pay the utilities and that sort of thing for right now. So that's where we are.
That's great, Christine. I'm glad that you're weathering this storm, but we need this storm to come to a close. Susan Lee, and then Sharon King, if we could, please. So Susan Lee, you're up first. If you're up for
I am actually retired and I don't have a business. I'm here as a secretary. I used
Okay,
to work
well,
at the library, which is Kathleen. So
nice to meet you, and thanks for joining us. Sharon, up to you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Sharon King, Chair of Fathoms of Fun Festival. Last year was our 53rd year, which we had to bypass totally everything. And so we're still doing our 53rd year. We're not doing well. Our vendor shows are nil, so there's been no revenue coming in whatsoever to Fathoms. And we're hoping to muster up some sponsorship for our concerts. We're just getting ready to send out the concert schedule. We are going forward, and everything is booked from June 3rd through the last Thursday in August. We have a full slate of bands. Joey Jewell, Frank Sinatra was Joey Jewell, but Danny Vernon, our Elvis Presley guy, he's always the last Saturday in August, but he's now moved up to July 1. And the August last Thursday concert is going to be the High Rollers band, who won our Battle of the Bands 2 years ago. They're out of Tacoma, and they're absolutely a wonderful brass band that will knock your socks off. So we're expecting good things. We're planning to figure out how we can social distance and ask the audience to wear masks. And hopefully we'll have a good time this summer and be able to provide some free concerts to our wonderful citizens of South Kitsap County. The parade, which normally scheduled for June, we're postponing that to the end of August. There's no parades taking place whatsoever of any festival that we know of. I did hear that Seafair is waiting until May 21st to make their decision on holding a parade, but my opinion, I don't see how in the world they can hold that parade over in downtown Seattle. They're just no way. And so we're postponing the parade and the fireworks show to September 18th. And we're hoping that by then, maybe we'll be in phase 4, but as I've told our city clerk, I need 90 days ahead of schedule to be able to put the application in and close down Bay Street. It's a state highway, so we work with the state and the city. So I need that 90-day window, and I've reminded her of that. And so at this point, no parade in June, no fireworks on the 4th of July.
Well, that's heavy,
Good
but
news, Joe.
I promise that there are silver linings beyond the 72-degree day we're supposed to have today. Ace and Irene, I think you're up next if you'd like to share and talk about your business and how it's been this last year. Then we'll go to James and Kathleen.
So I think we're the new kids on the block. We moved in December. We were at the Town Square Mall. I had a nice big 1,700 square foot studio. We're photography and graphic design studio is what we do. We shoot a lot of the little leagues in Kitsap County, and they came to a screeching halt.
Yeah, no school, no sports. So I'd say that was probably about 80% of our income.
Yeah.
And we were growing, almost doubling in income every year until last March when everything came to a halt. So where in the past we didn't really rely on foot traffic, it didn't really matter where our studio was located because we shoot on location for a lot of the sports. We go to the leagues and shoot there at their fields. All of that went away. So foot traffic became more important to us. And coming down to Bay Street, we kind of downsized, found something that was more affordable to help us get through because we couldn't keep paying the rent that we were owing. So we were in arrears on that.
So we went from 1,700 square feet to 650, which is a huge adjustment.
So
We lost about probably 75% of our revenue.
And our garage is full of stuff
Yeah.
because we didn't have anywhere to put it.
So we did have to change what we did, just changed our focus, got through it. Same as the other person, or who was it, Christine, that said, got no loans, no nothing like that.
No employees.
No
So we weren't
employees,
eligible for
so-
anything. Yeah.
But we're coming through it. We've just expanded. So we did take the whole corner. Leagues are coming back. We've got a lot of them booked. I'm looking at opening a small retail side. So I got a lot of room now. So I'm excited. We're remodeling that whole, our whole space pretty much. The Port Orchard Independent just interviewed me, which kind of felt like, what's the most depressing business we can find, and write their story. So I think that'll be published today.
Yeah.
Irene, did you say that you're moving to the corner where Jack Action just was?
Yes,
Yeah.
Woohoo,
I
congratulations.
know. I'm so excited.
We have a bunch of plastic up because we don't want people watching us as we remodel and paint and redo the flooring. So we'll have a great reveal here in a few weeks, we're hoping. I don't think we'll make Cinco de Mayo, but soon, early, mid-May, we're trying to have that bigger space ready to go.
Yeah. So we're excited. It's looking good. We've got 5 of our leagues have booked us right now. So
Yeah, fortunately, the leagues have been loyal. They just couldn't do anything during the pandemic. So they are all coming back. They're booking. We have something for the next 4 weekends. We're shooting leagues.
yeah.
And then I think we have a weekend off, and then the following weekend we're shooting our 5th one.
And weddings I'm booked until
Yeah.
November.
We didn't really focus on weddings too much before.
Yeah.
But we took on weddings because Irene is always worried about just having a bad experience, which she doesn't. Everything's always been good, but she fears the worst.
I always
her
say I'd
nature.
rather shoot 300 little football players than one
And
bride.
one bride.
But fortunately, we were successful. We booked a few weddings. We did a lot of stuff with like yard signs for seniors and
Yeah.
just whatever was still going on that we could be a part of. So we kind of changed our focus to kind of weather the storm. And we came out the other end, and things are starting to come back. So we're able to expand, and now we're on Bay Street where we have foot traffic and great exposure, and we're just glad to be on the block and be part of the team.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really exciting. Congrats on your new space, folks. I look forward to seeing you in operation. James, then Kathleen.
Morning. Thanks for reaching out to us, and we're happy to have you. It's exciting stuff going on. The port has experienced a different response to COVID. With no one flying abroad or internationally, they seem to go out and buy boats because we've never been busier. Our marinas are at 97% right now, which they've never been at that height, and our guest moorages are boating was identified early in May as a COVID safe recreation activity. People can self-distance easily in their boats, and it's worked out well. We did issue a fair amount of COVID relief during last year. The commissioners issued a program for allowing 3-month deferments of rent or mortgage during last year's really most difficult COVID times for certain businesses and some of our tenants who applied for it. And I think that was very helpful to get people through and to work together but we're seeing now a kind of a return to normal. We have the cruise ship in Bremerton coming back for its first 10-day cruise in Puget Sound. It'll be here on May 15th. And it's at reduced capacity, but still it's about half, which will be about 175 people in that vessel. And then we have the Lady Washington. We scheduled her for coming in July 8th that week, and she'll be on the Port Orchard docks. So things seem to be coming back to normal. We're very excited to hear about concerts on the Bay, and I look forward to that schedule when it comes out so we can distribute it to all of our boaters and community. So it's been an interesting year.
Yeah, to say the least. Kathleen and then Zena, please.
Hi, I'm Kathleen. I'm the manager at the Port Orchard Library and also at the Manchester location. Yeah, so libraries, we closed March 16th and we didn't reopen for curbside service till June 22nd. So we were really lucky that we didn't have any layoffs of our staff. We'd done some careful budgeting, and so we were able to keep everybody employed through that entire shutdown. And then going back to service, it was just completely different because it was just curbside service. And that was going from a model. I mean, the library itself is not the greatest model for a pandemic where you're borrowing something and then returning it and somebody else is borrowing it. So especially right at first when we weren't as clear with how COVID was spread, there was a real concern that you could get it from, another library material. So we had like 96-hour quarantines on books that were returned, and went from a self-service model where most of our patrons come in and check out their own items and, kind of use the library on their own, to doing absolutely everything for every patron that we had. So there's just a lot more involved there. But it was successful. We started our curbside service and had about 80 appointments a day that we could do. And we were doing that and really busy with that up until 2 weeks ago. We were able to open our doors up to 25% capacity. So we now have people coming into the library, which is amazing. And that's been it is kind of, as James said, almost a feeling that we're starting to return to normal. And that's what we're hearing from everybody coming through our doors, that this is like, they're very happy to be able to just get back into the library. We had a couple people the first day that just wanted to come in and breathe the library air, is what they said. just be in the building. And it's interesting because most of our patrons that are coming in really just come in and grab their holds and leave. And so it's incredible how much of a weight's been lifted off of our staff, just having that action happening. And I mean, 25% capacity is not that many. At Port Orchard, we can let in 16, but we decided to go with that 25% just because things are so uncertain now. We didn't want to have to backtrack if we had to go back to phase 2. And so that's been good. So that's where we are right now. And hopefully all of our programming is still all totally online. We're not able to offer a lot of the services that we did. We have this really great partnership every year with AARP where we have free tax preparation happening at the library. That didn't happen. Like all kinds of things that we normally are able to do, we are not. But our summer learning program is going to be happening. We probably won't be having a lot of live programs, but we're just pivoting, right? Every week we have new information and we all pivot with that. So that's what we're doing at the library too. And it's been great to see, new businesses opening up downtown, businesses, busy downtown in the past, especially the past month or two. That's been great to see too. So we're super glad to be a part of that.
To follow back up, in a second, we're going to go to Zena and then Steve and Robin and finish up. To follow up on what James said and what Kathleen said is that if there's a slow, bumpy return to normal, right? And so James and Kathleen are seeing that. Maybe not everybody's seeing that, and it can be hard to see, especially in your day-to-day business. But recognizing that, this is going to be a road where it's like 1 step forward, a step back, 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. The resolution of us just being able to go back to a normal life doesn't seem likely. Pierce County was rolled back to phase 2 they rolled back on Friday. And 2 other counties were rolled back to phase 2. And that is just the reality of the world we live in this virus that's out there causing havoc. That said, all pandemics end. This pandemic will end too. And there's a very clear way it ends, which is that, and sometimes people give me some trouble about this, but the truth is the way this pandemic ends is 70% plus of the population becomes vaccinated against it, and it can no longer transmit in society. That's it. Otherwise, we're doing this for a very, very long time. Zena, you're up next, then Steve, then Robin.
Hello, everyone. We opened up Crow's Curiosities. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, sure can.
Okay, we opened up Crow's Curiosities mid-November 2019. And it was a new shop for us. So we were prepared for starting out and had reserves for that, being a new company or new shop, no one really knowing us and that sort of thing, and building a name and advertising and all of that. So we were doing as we had forecasted for the season. And then once this whole COVID realization started to unravel, business slowed down, and then we had to close the shop for the part of March, and then all of April and May. Um, and it's funny because I see all the little sales and everything is just like, flatline. And then it goes, on again after we open on May 29th and open back up. But during that time, it was really hard for me because all of the reserves that I had to start up with, I went through. I didn't qualify for any of the grants because I wasn't open March of 2019. I had opened in November of 2019. So I think it was Leanne who was saying she didn't qualify for any of the grants. Neither did I, neither did we. We didn't get anything, not the Kitsap, not the Port Orchard, and not this working for round 4, working Washington or whatever, because that you needed 25,000 through 2 million in 2019, and we only had a couple thousand. So yeah, so no grants at all. Can't afford to get into any other new loans. I have plenty of loans and plenty of debt. So once we opened back up, though, I would say, it was very rocky with consumer confidence and folks getting back out there and shopping and that sort of thing, and with the restrictions. This past March, seemed to be very optimistic. I am optimistic about our future in the downtown Port Orchard area. So I'm hoping that folks really like what we have to offer. I'm hoping that we all remain unique in our identity, and that we offer things that are specific, and we stay on brand. And I think that'll be really cool, because if people come in, they get different experiences throughout the town, that would really benefit us. But as far as COVID is concerned, yeah, there's a lot that I am behind on. So that has affected me in that way, because of those 3 months of going through my reserves. I'm really behind on payments and that sort of thing. So I'm really hoping that we have some really successful months ahead.
Well, Zena, thanks for sharing, and appreciate your retail location. I'm the Harry Potter guy who's come down a couple times.
Oh,
Anyway.
yay! Thank you.
Hey, Steve and Robin, let's finish this out. Steve, words of wisdom. You want to share your experience across Port Orchard and Bremerton?
Well, thank you, Joe, and welcome. And I'll just keep this short and tell you that my words of wisdom are to do whatever Corinne says, and you'll prosper and be happy. So aside from that, I'll let Corinne, she knows more about the perspective that we have about downtown. And, there's lots of moving parts, as you know, Joe, and we have an investor meeting yesterday on a project that's a downtown project. So we're moving forward on a lot of different pieces, but it's all about timing and post-COVID reemergence. And so we're happy to be a part of our community and thankful that you're part of it as well, Joe.
Yeah, I'll add just a couple things to that. The restaurant, The Dock, is doing gangbusters. We really can't, I can come up with a lot of different reasons why that's so, but it's a little bit of a surprise to us. And, we struggled during takeout. We did fairly well last summer. We really struggled during the second takeout. It was winter, it was dark, the weather was terrible. People didn't want to come down and get takeout at 4 o'clock when it was dark. but then we opened in January, and we were able to open a little bit earlier because of the, because we have 40-foot ceilings and a big, huge garage door. We surpassed August 2019 for the month of March. We surpassed last April, yesterday. And we didn't go to 50% capacity yet. We're keeping people spread out. I think that's one of the reasons, you know, people are comfortable coming down. So we're doing well. But beside the dock, you know, I'm not going to go into details, but most of you know we have a numerous of other businesses, and we also have we're beginning to have quite a portfolio or potential portfolio of properties and projects for Port Orchard, because we really believe in Port Orchard. And you know, I keep joking with the mayor that we're going to come live in his attic if it, you know, doesn't all work out. But we're invested in Port Orchard. So we have a particular appreciation for everybody else that invests in Port Orchard, either as a property owner, as a business owner. So, but I'll let Robin go from there.
Sounds great. Robin, you're up.
Okay. I didn't know we were going to be doing this. Yeah, my salon's doing okay. I had to cut back a day because the gal that I work with, it's too small for two of us to be in there with our clients. So we work opposite days, and it's slow and steady. I can't work people in with other people. So I only have one client or one family in there at a time. So it's cut back quite a bit, but it's sort of semi-retirement for me. I'm not going to quit, but it's been kind of nice to not be working as many hours. So I'm able to pay the bills. So that's all that matters.
And Robin, which store is yours?
It's the Salon Pederasso.
Okay.
It's a beauty salon down on the block opposite the movie theater.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah, right down from.
Right.
Right by Coffee Oasis. Okay.
Right. Yeah. No, I've got it now. Fred, hi. We've kind of just gone around the horn and talked about our businesses and how the last year has been. You know, is there any perspective that you wanted to provide briefly?
Hi, I was just trying to lurk, but I would say that I'm thrilled that there's actually business or activity on Bay Street, and I'm somewhat invested because I saw air plants at Josephine's. So I've seen the ebb and flow of activity and when people could go in or not. And I've just seen that things have picked up a little bit. So I'm thrilled to see that. I know that a lot of people want to go out and eat. And I don't know if it's worthwhile to just make a list of the places that are open. I'm assuming that most places are open for eating. And I don't know if that's accurate or not. But I'm just here to listen in, actually.
Well, thanks, Fred, and Fred's my neighbor as well. You know, what we've talked about is some of the surprises and some of the terrible year that's been behind us as small retailers and Main Street operators. And, you know, the potential for a return to normal that's really bumpy. The good news is kind of what Fred's talking about, seeing a lot more traffic flow, what Corinne referenced with seeing increased ticket sales. Like, there's a lot of indicators that's what's going to happen, because, you know, we're all ready for this to end. Whether this ends is a whole nother story, but we're all ready for this to end. And more, I'm not saying people aren't hurting, but more people have money than one would think after a year of this. And some of that's from the fiscal stimulus, and some of that's from high savings rates, and they're ready to go spend that money. And I think the case has been made that spending it locally really, really matters. I'm going to present just a couple slides and then take questions, because it's 8:48. I don't want to keep you too long. I really appreciate hearing your stories. This is really important. It helps us understand what everybody's going through in a time when we can't see each other, and we can't know that people are going through revenues that are 75% down from what they would typically have. It's important to keep that in mind. I've put 2 links in the chat. The first link is for the Washington Small Business Development Center. This is a person, her name is Jamie Forsyth. Some of you may know her. there's two things about Jamie. One is that she's free business advice. And so what a lot of you have talked about today is how you've had to pivot. And even James at the port talked about how he had to pivot and had to pivot port operations and do things differently during COVID. You know, one of those things is driving your online presence, having some sort of combination between in-person and online so you can help survive this, growing that so that you can reach people when you can't see them in person. Jamie's knowledgeable about that. Almost more importantly, she is an expert in every federal grant relief program. That includes the upcoming restaurant revitalization program, $28 billion. She's an expert in PPP, which really saved American small businesses, the payroll protection program. And before you say like, I can't take that, I know I can't take that, it's worth just clicking that link, scheduling time with Jamie, and making sure you can't. The PPP is a very good product that has like forgiveness elements of up to 75% and very low interest rates. And something somebody else referenced in this call is we don't know what the future holds. And so having as much financial support as you can get, especially if you've had a really tough year, is important. The other link I put in the chat was a Facebook link that is our slowly growing shop local effort. We've got, and thanks to Corinne for posting stuff all the time in Shop Eat Spend Kitsap. As we head into fourth quarter, we're really going to amplify that. We're sort of just doing a slow build over the course of the year. We'd love it if you join. Irene and Ace, talk about your photo sessions and what you're offering. Leanne, talk about what's new in your coffee shop, and talk about what's new at Crow's Curiosities. Like, promote yourself, because you know our goal is to have a couple hundred people on there who want to spend their money locally. I'll share a couple things. Not only do I love Port Orchard, I think Bay Street and downtown really matters. And there is my gross background. So you guys see Jamie here? You see promoting federal resources? Fred, can you give me a thumbs up if you see it? Okay, you see it. So that's the link that I posted in the chat. Think highly of Jamie. She's totally free. She'd love to work with you. So I'm just going to provide a couple thoughts that I stole from a 2007 article on Main Streets and Downtowns. And let's pick on somebody who wants to talk. Can anybody tell me what these three downtowns are? Maybe it's in the chat. Let's see here. Joe, no links in chat. Oh,
Leavenworth,
Yeah,
Paul's,
on the far right.
Paulsbo.
Leavenworth, Paulsbo, and
Port Townsend?
Yeah. So let me ask another question. If you had to use one word to describe Port Townsend, what would it be?
Cool.
Cool. Any other words? I'm into it, but anything else?
They have an amazing library.
Library. Okay.
It's walkable.
Walkable, sure.
Nostalgic.
Nostalgic.
They've done a really nice job of restoring those old buildings down there and really valuing the history of Port Townsend.
Historic. Okay. Let's move on to Paulsbo. Thoughts about Paulsbo? Words?
Well, it's thematic in a way.
Thematic. A theme of, say, Vikings, perhaps?
Yeah, I mean, quaint Scandinavian kind of.
All right.
Not to the extent Leavenworth is, obviously, but.
It's vibrant.
Vibrant, sure.
Walkable.
Walkable,
I
okay.
envy that they don't have a highway going through their downtown.
There's that too. I think that
Great building upkeep.
Oh, could you say that again?
Great building upkeep.
Yeah, those buildings are very well taken care of, not weather beaten and invested in. I would agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that it doesn't have to be this extreme, right? These are like really extreme examples of Victorianism, little Scandinavia, and then Bavaria. Like, probably doesn't have to be that intense. But I think we're coming up with things historic, invested in, very beautiful, matters, walkable, those kinds of things. So anyway, 7 ideas from a very old Florida bar article. And by the way, downtown revitalization was like, it was the focus of economic development for the last 10 to 20 years in the United States. Revitalize your downtown, draw people to it, invest in it, increase foot traffic, have it be dynamic. That was very much the economic development and focus story of the last 10 to 20 years. Whether that remains, who knows? I do think it's really important that Bay Street and downtown Port Orchard grows into this type of opportunity for our community. Pedestrian friendly is very, very instinctive. Historical preservation, many people brought that up. I do think there's two things to notice here. One is that there's some identity creation that's going on. And again, I don't think it has to be as intense as Victorian, Scandinavian, Bavarian, and maybe Bremerton would be edgy or urban. But you know, there does have to be kind of a unique value proposition. If one word comes to mind, what is it for Port Orchard, right? And valuing what's historical, but recognizing also maybe what needs reinvestment. Developing your waterfront, if it's not developed, you really should develop it. Mixed office space, making sure that there's different kinds of opportunities happening downtown. It was really cool to hear Irene and Ace's story. It's really neat that we have a mix of different businesses in downtown Port Orchard. And whether that is Crow's Curiosities kind of changing the retail landscape, and for me, a true nerd, also Jack Action changing the retail landscape. So there's more than antiques, right? That's good to have, but it's also good to have different kinds of businesses, caterers, restaurants, different things to do. Pedestrian-oriented festival markets. Port Orchard's really good at this, I think. I think the product that Port Orchard puts out for festivals is excellent. It's tough to get the word out, perhaps, beyond our sphere of influence, but it's great for us. Growing transportation and putting people in your downtown. And then finally, something we've talked about a little bit, multifunctionalism. So I'll try to put this link in the chat as well. It's kind of a fun, it's a fun read that's light and oddly from lawyers, which is good. But I think all of this is really relevant. Final note, little bit of an economic lens here. There are proposed investments in Port Orchard that really matter to the future of our community and that really matter to the Bay Street Association. You know, I don't know of the last time something between the building of City Hall and whenever the Kitsap Bank building was created, the last time that millions of dollars were invested in downtown Port Orchard might have been a very long time ago. And that's really that's unique. That's something that shouldn't be the case. That's not normal. So having a waterfront path that everybody can enjoy that increases foot traffic to businesses, growing and reinvesting in infrastructure for our community, as well as providing a reason for employers to be here in the downtown core. Really, really, really important things. And opportunities that I'm really excited about. So those are thoughts. You know, we're here for you. Our job at KEDA this year is to focus on our community and bringing it together. And it's to really be here in the economic recovery of Kitsap. Small retailers, local restaurants, small businesses are a really big part of that. So that's where we're focused this year. We do a lot of other things, but I'm happy to take your questions and appreciate your time. Also, I appreciate the value and services you offer to our community because I avail myself of them regularly. That's it.
You know, Joe, I haven't actually gone, I mean, I go to the KEDA website, but I haven't gone to this particular part of it. I'm assuming it's updated, but you've always had a website that was a source of a lot of Kitsap community information, statistics, numbers and stuff like that if people are looking for it, or links to those things. I'm sure that's still the case.
Yeah, so the two big projects that we're working on right now, we have published a new economic profile, which I will email that to Kareen after this. So that's live and out, and we haven't really promoted it because we've been just busy doing other things. We're working on our top employers list. That's probably going to take us a couple more months to do. So we do some direct capacity building and research and reports in conjunction with Western Washington University about Kitsap's economy, which, by the way, like, I'm really bullish on Kitsap's economy. I think our best days are definitely in front of us. And that's probably something that we didn't talk about either. We are in one of the best, fastest growing powerhouse metro areas in the country. Yes, people are leaving Seattle, but people are also moving to Seattle. So people are leaving Seattle and going to suburbs like ours. That's kind of good. But then people are also still moving to Seattle from San Francisco, New York. There's city transfer happening. People are going to start working from home 2 to 4 days a week in some cases, some industries. That's good for Kitsap. We have, the remarkable economic asset that's the military. It's 40,000 plus jobs. We're in really good shape, and I think that Kitsap's best days are in front of us. I think Port Orchard's definitely are.
Yeah, absolutely. Any questions, anybody? Joe, I personally, I didn't know you were going to have us speak, but I know that's very helpful to you to get the pulse of the community, even the community you live in. But I really appreciate that. And, we did have Jamie in January, I think. So, but her message is, to call her. So, I mean, she says, call her. So do call her if you have any questions about potential help. And I hear all the time, people are saying, well, I don't qualify for this, and I don't qualify for that. And that I'm not saying that's not true, but I think if you dig deep enough or ask enough questions of the right people, there might be a path for some assistance. So that isn't just loans. Anyone have questions for Joe? No?
That was great. I actually didn't add mine. I'd love to, just for the record.
That's right.
I'm Monica Adams. I'm a massage therapist and health coach. I started doing the health coaching in order to pivot to more online. I also have an office. So I run a solo practice here in my home in Port Orchard, about a half mile from downtown. And I have an office in Silverdale, and I have 7 people that rent from me there. We were closed down from March to June. And a lot of my practitioners that are massage therapists came back in with enhanced protocols, more time for cleaning between people. A lot of stuff kind of shifted for us, but we've been lucky in that we are a healthcare provider, so we have been essential. And we've had a lot of, I loved what I think Zena said, like lack of consumer confidence. So a lot of people have stayed away. So we have seen a small setback, but at the same time, we do live in a community that is well employed with the city, the county, the Navy bases. So we do have kind of a strong base of well employed clientele that like to get massages for health. So in that way, we've seen a small dip, but not tons. And I, as a solopreneur, I did speak with Jamie Forsyth at the Small Business Development Council. I do not have employees. And you can use your Schedule C, and I did qualify for a small $4,000 fund that I do expect will be forgiven. So be sure to contact Jamie and connect with her. She's a lovely resource. And Joe, I really appreciate your taking time to share with us today.
Thanks for having me. Really appreciate all of you. And I really appreciate you spending time talking. That's really helpful for all of us. And it keeps us focused at Keto on what we need to do.
Yeah. So thanks, Joe. And when you see Joe downtown.
Could we do a public announcement plug?
Yeah. Yes, please.
So one thing that we've offered to Bay Street businesses that A couple of them has taken us up on the offer already. So I figured this would be a good platform to put it out, is we're offering 1 hour of free photography to businesses on Bay Street. So if you guys have any desire to freshen up your product or your look, headshots, anything like that, that we can do, the first hour is on us. So that's one thing we've been putting out. And if you haven't heard, I just wanted to kind of put that out there for you.
Yeah, so send me some information by email and I'll put it out to the membership.
Okay, we'll do.
Okay.
Yeah, you can send that to POBSA info, POBSA info @gmail.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other quick announcements?
I have one. It's not an announcement. It's more of a request. With the port offices opening in May and our amount of guest visitor boaters coming, it'd be beneficial. Feel free to drop any flyers, coupons, or anything that we can add to our boater bags to draw visiting boaters to your retail establishments and businesses. We want the community to flourish, and bringing outside money into Port Orchard is always a good thing.
Yeah.
So they are always looking for places to go. So if you would like to bring by flyers or coupons or brochures, that'd be great. And we really look forward to that walking map. Even an online version PDF would be extremely helpful for all of our boaters.
Yeah, thanks for reminding us of that, James. And, like I said, we are working to do a walking map, but we're also putting together a flyer short-term for the boater bags. And I'm putting a flyer together for all the market businesses as well with some discounts. But check with James or Kathy. I mean, they hand out hundreds of those boater bags. So whatever you can put in them, a flyer or a little thingamajig or something with your name on it or an offer is very helpful. People use them. They come into town and they use them. So, and speaking of tourism, I'm just going to mention really quickly, our May meeting is the new executive director of Visit Kitsap. So we'll get introduced to that person who hasn't taken who is not in that position yet. So, but that's who our May meeting will be. And I think, the present executive director, Patty Graff Hoke, I mean, she's always said, if the businesses and the restaurants and the stores don't survive, then there's not a reason for people to come to Kitsap, other than the beauty, of course, and that we're the gateway to the Olympics. But so the Visit Kitsap is not just tourism oriented; they are concerned about economics of the small business. So that's coming up in May, and I hope you're all there. Any other announcements?
Fathoms is going to be having our concert schedule typeset today, and we'll be printing that out. And I will get you flyers, James, for your boaters bags, and then anyone else who wants flyers, just let me know. Message me on Facebook or Fathoms or my personal email at kingcreations@wavecable.com, and we'll get flyers to your businesses. And
they can always use sponsorship money.
We always need sponsorship money because we have no revenue coming in whatsoever. So it's crucial for sponsorships. We're a $10 donation, a $20 donation. We're going to have that put on our website where you can donate to concerts. And so we just really would appreciate any kind of sponsorships. Thank you.
Sharon, are you also on the Kitsap Great Give?
No, Fathoms is not in the Kitsap Great Give.
Okay. And just as a place for flyers, we are going to be doing that historic welcome to historic downtown Port Orchard, right by the foot ferry, the old wooden sign where the map used to be.
Right.
We'll be creating a place to hang flyers. So if you have flyers to submit to us, my printer can't probably handle printing them all, but you can certainly leave a copy at the library, leave a copy at Sydney Museum. Put it on there for POBSA, and I'll be managing that sign and hanging up posters and announcements and cool pictures of what we're doing in Port Orchard.
Great.
Good.
Thanks.
Anyone else?
And just one last thing. Sharon, with the concerts, we also want to do a regular social media blast every time one of those leading up to it. on the port websites, and we're doing that both in Burlington side and the Port Orchard side to get an expanded notice out there of these
Wonderful.
concerts. The
Well, we
dates
have a
and times.
social media person who blasts out everything that she can. As soon as that schedule is printed, she's going to be start blasting it out.
Perfect.
Okay.
And I would just ask the members to, and I know some of our members are very good about doing this. Share your fellow business, fellow organization, fellow POBSA members posts when you see them. And make sure you're doing your own if you have a Facebook page. I've said it before, I'll say it one more time. I put a lot of time in on a daily and weekly basis, checking your Facebook pages so I can share your information. And also, as Joe said, go to the shop. Okay, shop, eat, spin Kits Up, I think is the correct one. And share your stuff there or share other fellow businesses and follow that page. So I actually
You've been sharing our stuff every time we post something. So, and we see that. So thank you very much.
Yes, well, thank you. I appreciate that. You're doing that. So I actually am getting my vaccine and well, we were scheduled for the Johnson & Johnson one yesterday. And of course we were canceled. So we scrambled and we're getting one of the other ones today. I wanted the one and done, but so I've got to leave the call and prepare for that. So thank you, Joe. Appreciate your coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm going to disappear too. Appreciate you all. Thank you for sticking in there. Tough year. Really appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joe.
I don't know, Chris and Monica, if you want to stay on, but I'm going to leave and move on to my next project.
Thanks,
All right.
everybody. I'll shut the meeting down once everybody's gone. If you want to chat or
Okay,
connect
thank
with
you.
people, you're welcome to. Bye.
Bye.
Mm.